Hey guys, we are live on the Chrome Developer channel for the Chrome Office Hours. I think it would be useful for us to go around the room just to see who everybody is. Paul.
Hi, I'm Paul. As Addy just said, I'm a developer advocate at Google, working on Chrome, Web Intents, and I'm looking forward to loads of Web Intents questions today. I don't see any in the list. I want you to come and ask some. Otherwise, I probably won't be speaking today.
Oh.
Sorry, guys.
Hey, I'm Paul Lewis. I'm a developer programs engineer for Google. Obviously working on Chrome apps, GPU and performance kind of things.
I'm Addy. I work on Yeoman, tooling, some developer docs, and one or two other bits.
I'm Paul Irish. Paul. Working on all sorts of HTML5 open web platform, dev tools, Yeoman, and stuff.
My name is Sam Dutton. I'm here in London working on Chrome DevRel. I'll be working on WebRTC and doing more mobile Chrome stuff this year.
So we have a Google moderator set up that you can go and submit questions to and vote up and down other people's questions so that we answer exactly the sort of stuff that you're interested in. So go, if you can, just open up developers.google.com/live, and you'll find, you'll see that we're on air. Click through that, and then you'll see the moderator right there. We can submit questions and put things up. But so this is just office hours, and we're just going to answer your questions. So we're kind of guided by you guys today. Yeah.
We're planning to do this on a pretty regular basis from London now, so we're really looking forward to more of your questions.
Cool. So let's dive in.
Cool. All right. So okay. The first question that we're going to get into comes from United Kingdom, from Simon Owen. He asked, "Are we going to see a Fire Sass equivalent or similar in Chrome?" And so he's talking about the Fire Sass extension for Firebug, adding in support of the Sass style sheet abstraction. So we've been looking at this and really want to have some good, powerful stuff. There's a patch that's brewing. It has not landed yet. Kind of as a straw man attempt where you can actually see Sass files inside the sources panel in the Chrome DevTools. And so that's kind of the first step. We'll see kind of where it goes from there. But we're investigating and writing code right now.
So what do you use, source maps or?
So it actually is just as far as I know, it's not actually using source maps just yet. Although the cool thing is that the original implementation of source maps was kind of refactored to allow for more flexibility when it came to CSS source maps.
Okay.
So, what's implemented right now is not taking advantage of that. There's plumbing to enable that.
Cool.
Soon. Yeah, so that patch should actually land today or tomorrow. So if you're on Canary, you'll be able to see the beginnings of that. The other thing I wanted to mention is if you Google for Web Inspector commits RSS, you can get an RSS feed of all the commits to WebKit that are just the WebKit inspector, which is Chrome DevTools. And you can see everything that lands, including new features and small bug fixes, and have a stay very close to what's coming down the pipe. So.
Cool.
Next question.
Yeah. Moving on to a question here from Emilemos, not sure. Are you planning to make Chrome desktop sharing extension to support voice chat, work around firewalls so we can interact with our site users like with Skype, but totally over the web? Well, none of us here work on that extension. We have passed the question on to the team. I'd like to take this opportunity to give a plug for WebRTC, which does a lot of what you're talking about. You may have seen it already, but allows video chat and enables NAT traversal, so getting through firewalls and so on. So yeah, take a look at that. We've got a great WebRTC article now on html5rocks.com, or have a look at webrtc.org. Yeah, great way to chat with people, and it's all in the browser, plug-in free.
So, I mean, that would be for screen sharing, right, as well? So you're talking about kind of doing WebRTC at the same time as screen share? Or?
I'm not sure if the question here is about doing video chat or specifically about doing desktop sharing. We'll ask the Chromating team about.
Because I've seen some stuff that
working
use
with
the mutation observers as well to kind of
Okay.
replicate a screen on someone else's remote screen. Kind of cool.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Cool. Next question comes from Kevyux in the United States. He says, a question regarding V8 flags in Chrome. So there's a lot of flags that you can pass into the V8 JavaScript engine that allow you to implement tracing. And this is actually pretty cool. In a very high performance environment, you want to know when it goes into Crankshaft, which is the optimized compiler. And you can kind of see when it goes into that heavily optimized route and then back out, and perhaps get an indication of your code that is keeping it from going into the highly optimized route. There's a great talk, I think, at Google I/O about V8 and optimization, where you can learn more about this. But Kevyux is asking, can anyone give instructions on using these flags inside Chrome to get this? So for this one, Chrome has flags that you can run against the executable. And so if you just Google for running Chrome flags, I think. A while ago I made a page that has the instructions. Basically you need to run Chrome from the command line, and then you can pass in flags. All those flags, every available flag is listed on peter.sh. So if you just look for that, you can find it. But there's a specific technique of passing in V8 flags through a Chrome flag. So it's kind of like you wrap the V8 flags in a warm hug of other flags. Or maybe it's just...
So you can't do it from Chrome flags, in other words.
You can do it. So the name of the Chrome flag is V8 flags.
Yeah.
And you pass it a string of other flags.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's nice. But that way you're able to get this output dumped into your terminal as far as V8's behavior.
Cool. So are there any tools that kind of like consume that output, or is it literally you just kind of go in and...
I haven't seen any.
Okay.
That would be really cool. I haven't seen any.
Cool.
Yeah. Good?
Mm-hmm.
Good. All right. Next question.
Wow, we got some more questions coming in.
Good, good. Keep them coming.
Yeah, fire them in.
And
seen the
please
web
vote
intent.
up and down on everyone else's questions.
I've seen someone mention web intents.
We got to go to that question.
We'll do that one later, right? I'll save it.
Alright.
Save the best for last.
The last question is a good one.
All right. Are there any known IDEs or tools that take advantage of remote debugging support API to enhance web developer resources? So this is cool. Inside Chrome, there one of the extension APIs inside Chrome is actually called the Debugger API, and this is actually a JSON feed of the remote debugging protocol that is used for remote debugging, and also actually for the web inspector application, the web app, just to communicate with the host page. So it actually just communicates over the same protocol that it uses for remote debugging. And that protocol is exposed via an extension. What this allows is you could create in a page your own complete UI for all of Chrome DevTools. One particularly great application is, let's say you do have a web-based IDE. You could you could be showing code, and then you could have your set breakpoint, pause, step into, step out of, and all that would be proxied through the DevTools plumbing, and you get to control the API, the UI. So it's really exciting. And as far as people who are taking advantage of this right now, there's a plugin for Eclipse that allows you to debug your JavaScript over in Eclipse, and it just routes through and uses the debugger protocol. And that's, I think, it these days. Adobe has a new web-based IDE called Brackets, and I've talked to them about this API. And so they've looked at it. Nothing has landed as far as I know, but it would be pretty rad if we saw an implementation there.
So is
That's cool.
the protocol over TCP?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I was just thinking because obviously Chrome apps, the packaged apps, have got access to UDP and TCP connections. It's like you could make a little Chrome app, like right now on
Yeah.
Dev and Canary channel, which would talk to the instance of Chrome and kind of have like a debugger inside your own kind of little web app type
Yeah.
of thing.
Yeah, totally. I think it's actually it's a WebSocket connection.
Oh, is it a WebSocket one?
Yeah.
Okay.
There's a great article if you're interested in extending the dev tools. There's a really good article by our colleague Boris Smus. If you Google for extending Chrome developer tools, Boris Smus, that's S-M-U-S, that's a really great place to learn about building extensions for the Chrome tools, but also if you want to actually add stuff to your own custom front end. So good information there about doing extra things with the tools.
Is that like extra panels and stuff as well? Or?
Yeah, so it's actually information about building a new front end or tweaking, adding onto the existing front end, or it's good information there about building extensions using the DevTools extension APIs.
Because we want to do a web intent. I'm going to mention web intents every single time now,
Go
right?
on.
There's a web intent for that.
Yeah, it's a web intent for that, right? Oh, web intent. Yeah, because we're thinking about doing like a dev panel kind of, or dev tools kind of custom panel to tell you what information was kind of been passed into an app and all that type of stuff. Cool.
So the next question is, how will the divergence of the W3C and WhatWG on the HTML5 spec affect Chrome? And I guess the answer to that is it won't really. We're actively involved in both, and we're hoping that the differences there are going to stay minor.
The other thing to point out is that, so Chrome team is involved in working groups on the W3C, also the WhatWG, and the specs, as far as, like, this is not the first time that there's been a divergence. For instance, inside the WhatWG HTML spec, it includes the Canvas 2D API, but that is in its very own spec over in W3C land. And there's wording differences and things like that already. So there has been a divergence, and this is a little bit, well, I don't know if it's more of a divergence, but there's new editors as well. So anyways, we expect not much of an effect at all on how Chrome operates and is developed.
So the next question is, as the WebSQL feature was deprecated from the HTML5 spec, are you planning to remove it from Chrome in the future? WebSQL is interesting. Dropping it from the web platform is difficult because there are people actively using it at the moment. And if we want to do that, one prerequisite is that things like IndexedDB, for example, get broader support and start getting used a little bit more. We do see WebSQL perhaps getting dropped at some time in the foreseeable future, but again, people need to start using IndexedDB, for example, a little bit more.
So I mean, the question I was going to ask is, do we know of any kind of abstraction layers which kind of just get rid of the kind of the differences between the two? I mean, that we could kind of tell people right now. I mean,
Between WebSQL and IndexedDB?
Yeah, so you don't have to particularly worry too much. I mean, if you're going to develop an app now and you want it just to store data,
Right.
you know,
About like Launcher and stuff like that.
yeah, right. I mean, Launcher. I know Backbone's got a couple of different plugins.
Yeah, there are
as
a
well.
bunch of different sync plugins for Backbone that you can get that allow you to switch the storage option that you use, so whether it be IndexedDB or something else. But as Sam mentioned, there's also Launcher, which a lot of people are using at the moment.
Yeah, in a way it's tricky because, Launcher has a synchronous API, as far as I remember. You want to have a asynchronous API because the browser likes when you're acting in an asynchronous fashion. And so if you want something that's like simple and has great browser support, just use local storage. And if you're going to go a little bit more complicated than that, you need better performance, you need better data consistency. You might end up writing the adapters yourself. but I don't like recommending that.
Maybe dragging drag.
Yeah. If anyone else, so you can add comments to, you can post a response to questions inside the moderator. If you have a suggestion for a storage library that handles WebSQL and IndexedDB, and hopefully is also asynchronous, drop it in there because it's hard to capture all the possible libraries there.
Yeah, cool.
Simon Saras, who is a Canvas expert in New Hampshire, he asked about scroll bars. So in Chrome, when you do a Control F find, you get little highlights on the scroll bar to indicate page position where all the matches are. And sometimes when you customize the scroll bar with CSS, that effect is lost. So he's asking, do we get to retain that functionality somehow while still having custom styling on scroll bars? Great question. Yeah?
Do we know an answer? Because I was just thinking,
What do you think?
No, it's okay.
No.
Because I was thinking about this thing. I remember doing something a while ago where, like in custom CSS, you could basically just manipulate it with the canvas essentially, like the background. It wasn't. I don't think it wasn't necessarily the background image, but you could essentially attach a canvas to it. And I can't remember for the life of me how I did it.
Yeah.
But because the scroll bars in WebKit are stylable, and you can get access to the thumb, the background, and then kind of the little bits at the top and bottom. I was kind of wondering whether you could do the same type of thing there, as where you know the height and width. You can draw get a little canvas and say, well, the background image for this scroll bar is the output from this canvas.
Yeah.
I was thinking so. I've not seen it done. Well, I've seen it done kind of like in other apps, but never seen the solution, if that makes sense.
I feel like it's a totally legit feature request to ask for custom styling for the match markers in the scroll bar. Like if we have a styling hook like -webkit -scrollbar -match or whatever, and then you could like take it from that yellow and change it into something that matches what you've styled it into. If we had that, then there would be no reason to hide it automatically when it's styled, and so file a ticket and see what folks think. Because I think that would be awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, so the next question from Stuart is, will Chrome for Android follow a similar frequent release schedule to the desktop version? And are there any plans for Dev and Canary versions? The simple answer is yes, we intend to follow the Chrome release cycle, but we don't have an ETA for this specifically at the moment. And when we do, we'll announce it publicly. But what we can say is that we will be following the Dev, Beta, Stable, Canary kind of release pattern that you've seen on desktop.
Cool.
Nice.
Okay. So the next question is, are you planning soon to implement the device orientation locking by the viewport orientation attribute with Chrome Mobile and Android default browser? So we're investigating what APIs are important to have on mobile at the moment, and that includes the orientation lock. We're aware of it, we're looking at it at the moment, but we don't have anything to announce just yet. I know it's not the best answer, but it's what you get right now. Yeah.
Stuart asks, do you know of any work implementing the Web Audio API for Chrome for Android? Web Audio API is used in, was it used in Exquisite Forest? Yeah.
Yeah, it's using Chrome Mobile App as well.
The new Chrome Web Lab and Exquisite Forest, which are recently released experiments and kind of arty stuff. It's really cool. And it's not currently available in Chrome for Android. What you can do is, if you go to mcrbug.com, it's a list of all the tickets that are filed against Chrome for Android. And one of them in there, towards the top you'll see, is web audio support. Star this ticket to stay notified. Right now, there's not any support. One of the things that would be really useful to hear is, if you're a mobile developer and you could really use web audio support, you just said, the audio tag doesn't cut it for you, leave a note saying like what your use case is. What is it that you want to build, so people have a better idea as far as like what is the possibility of this feature? I've heard a lot of people say that WebAudio API makes a lot of sense in desktop settings, but on a phone or on a tablet, it's not as obvious. So having about an understanding of like kind of what people are going to make would help a lot as far as helping people understand what the priority of this should be.
And yeah, if you're in London, go to the Science Museum and check out the.
You know, I should have said that, man.
God,
do it.
Yeah.
Pulls your man.
Check out the
It's
Science
really
Museum, Chrome Web Lab. It's awesome.
It's really nice.
What is it?
Yeah. It's 5 real-world interactive experiments, Chrome experiments, that you can interact with from anywhere in the world on the web, or interact with directly from the Science Museum. There's like an interactive orchestra, kind of sand drawing bots, which you take a picture of your face, draw it in the sand. You have to go and check it out. It's really cool. It's beautiful as well.
In the meantime, if you can't, chromeweblab.com would be
Yeah.
the place to visit.
Yeah.
Definitely.
We went there just last night, and it was totally cool. We got an understanding of how everything was built, all built with Chrome and web technologies, even some Node.js and Arduino in there.
So we're going to do some hangouts as well soon with some of the people who built the project.
Yeah.
So I haven't got an exact ETA when it's going to happen, but
Are they going to talk us through how these things work?
yeah, we want to do kind of like one talk per experiment,
That'd be awesome.
kind of, from top to bottom, from client to server, show you how it's built. So
Neat.
it's going to be fun.
Next question. Simon asks about some of the new Canvas functionality that's been added to the spec. I think this happened circa March, April, I think, is when it actually hit the spec. There's some new functionality and features for Canvas that are in there, but I don't think we've seen it in any browser yet. As far as ETA, I can't say, I just don't know, but the best way to check this out is on the WebKit tracker. So what I just did is I just looked up one of these, found a ticket. Right now it's assigned to Gene Jackson, who is commonly a spec editor for a lot of specs, and he has a lot of them assigned to him. So it looks like there's certainly interest from implementers, but I haven't seen any patches prepared yet, so watch the tickets, and that's kind of as much as we know right now. Cool. If you're just joining us, hello. We are going through a bunch of questions. You can go to developers.google.com/live, click on our Chrome office hours, and there's a bunch of questions. You can vote up, down, and ask.
Yeah, we've got quite a few now.
Yeah.
It's good.
Awesome.
Vote up and down more of them.
Yeah.
Help us out.
Yeah.
Cool.
Okay. Who's going to take us next one?
Bunch
of questions.
Okay.
Lots of questions.
This is good.
Okay.
Mosin from LA. He has asked a bunch of stuff about, some stuff about web forms. First, input type color. Added to HTML5 spec a long time ago. It's been implemented in Chrome and WebKit.
Yeah, I always thought
It's available in
Opera
Chrome.
had it.
I'm not sure about Safari and other ports. But it right now brings up the operating system's color picker widget. Why does it? Mosin is asking, why does it do this versus your own color picker?
When he says your own color picker, does he mean kind of one that you would write yourself,
I guess.
or like a Chrome, like
I
a
guess he means like a-
standardized Chrome one
yeah.
or something?
I guess he means a general one. That's what might work themselves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think part of it, I don't know, I don't have a great answer. My guess is that it's probably better for all browsers to use the native operating system's picker than all browsers having inconsistent color pickers with different functionality. When you leave it up to the OS, you present something that is probably more familiar to the user than what one implementer thought. And so I think that consistency is pleasant. Plus, it probably is nicer to get that feature out quicker because you can leverage something instead of rolling it all from scratch. Was it also asked about input type week and time, type time? Those are not supported while type date is, and why that is. I think that's just a matter of priorities. Everyone needs a date
I know.
picker, you know.
It's a matter of time.
Yeah, it's a matter of time.
I like it.
Yeah, good, wasn't it?
Everyone needs date pickers, and so landing that first certainly makes sense. There are tickets I think I have a link. Yeah. There's a WebKit bug on the WebKit bug tracker ticket number 86990. Actually, if I can show you, can we bring up my screen? Great. Okay. Cool. It's coming up. Just a moment. So right now, this ticket. And one of my favorite features is to view the dependency tree. So for any ticket, you can kind of understand like what are the things that have to happen before this ticket can get closed and the patch plan for this. What is this blocking? And the dependency trees on the WebKit tracker are pretty nice to like understand how the whole thing will be implemented and the progress of something. So in this case, we can view that, see what's already been resolved in this tree, and you can see that quite a few things, a good 90% of what is needed for this feature is complete. So take a look at that, I guess.
Yeah, the next question is about Yeoman. Louis Lopez from Spain writes, what kind of support should we expect for AngularJS? Good question. So with V1 of Yeoman, we're going to be including a really nice scaffold for AngularJS, which will hopefully let you do a little bit of what an existing project called Angular Seed lets you do, which is sort of scaffold out a brand new Angular project, and maybe one or two other things. We're actually actively working with the Angular team to try getting a little boilerplate that has best practices into there. And so our support for it out of the box is going to be pretty decent. For anybody that sort of is more concerned with other frameworks, like perhaps Backbone or Ember, we're going to hopefully in the future work with the people involved in those projects to create similar scaffolds. But we've been working with sort of proof of concepts that already work with Backbone and Ember. So far, they work great. And I think it's just going to be a case of once Yeoman is out, you'll start to see more of these generators and scaffolds come out soon after, hopefully.
Addy, if somebody's not familiar with what Yeoman is as a tool, could you give us like the elevator pitch?
Yeah, of course. So Yeoman is an opinionated workflow for developers that will hopefully help them build more beautiful applications. We try to take a look at aspects of their development process, like everybody needs a build process of some sort using a build tool. People like the idea of not having to manually write out a lot of the boilerplate code needed for projects. So Yeoman is also going to take care of that. We've got a bunch of other neat stuff in there. We've got support for headless WebKit testing. We've got sort of a watch process. So you're able to write, for example, CoffeeScript or Encompass and have that automatically compile using library load and a bunch of other things. So you don't even have to go back and manually compile those things yourself. But we've got some other features in there too.
Does it support web intents?
Yes.
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 That was the first
Nice.
feature. First feature before anything else.
Shameless.
It doesn't, right? You're not committing to actually launching with it? Or?
Oh God, no.
Yeah. Right. I'll work on it. I'll get it in. It'll be good.
Nice.
Somehow.
That's your evening just cleared up right
Yeah.
Our next question comes from John Romero, and it's asking, are there any plans to allow side-by-side installs of different Chrome channels on Linux? Currently, so Chrome Canary is available on Windows and Mac, and Chrome Canary is, I think, is fantastic for developers. I know I run Chrome Stable and then Chrome Linux side by side all the time. You guys, is that how you roll?
Mm-hmm.
But I tend to get the latest Chromium build every night from Linux.
Oh, for Linux, yeah. So, so Chrome Canary works great for Mac and Windows, but there's a lot of people on Linux, and I understand that not having Canary is a bummer. There are builds depending on what flavor you're on. I know there is a package that's maintained on Ubuntu for a nightly Chromium build. And so take a look around for maintained unstable Chromium packages that updates every night. Otherwise, there's plenty of scripts that people have written, just bash scripts that go and fetch it on the fly for you. Is yours just like you have to set it up on a cron job?
I've just got like a bookmark to the directory where they are, and I just
Okay.
download it. And
Yeah.
But I've seen some scripts like shell scripts, which just basically just pull it in. And
Yeah.
it'll work that way.
If you do want an absolute edge Chromium build, you can go to downloadchromium.appspot.com, which just sniffs
Yes.
out what OS you're on and
Yeah.
gives you one single click, because finding that actual directory is kind of a pain.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it changed a while ago, right?
Yeah,
So-
yeah.
So Hussein from Colorado writes, what parts of the Chrome ecosystem is the team most excited
Web
about?
intents.
No, I haven't even finished the sentence, and he's already on it. Doesn't have to be one thing. Yeoman, AngularJS, HTML5
Short
features.
and long-term
I think it'd be
interests.
useful to like go around. I can't imagine what you'd be
Yeah,
most
go ahead,
interested
Paul.
in.
So I'm actually interested in helping developers just build great web apps quickly and have great web apps talk to each other, right? I mean, that's the problem I've always faced in the web, is that you normally have to do really deep integrations, and just building all these things is really hard. So anything that makes my life easier to build great web apps is good. So things like Yeoman, I'm excited about. And I use Backbone quite a bit recently. I've not really tried Angular, but I've heard a lot of good things, those type of things. Anything that makes it easy.
Yeah.
I mean,
Me, I'm kind of excited by it. I guess Sam similar on this, but WebRTC for me is one of the things, because it's quite a disruptive thing to see coming through.
Good answer.
I'm a big fan of disruptive stuff, just because I'm a big believer in what the browser can do, and so seeing this stuff landing in the browser without plugins, it's kind of opens so many doors. So for
Yeah.
me, it's WebRTC for sure.
so just kind of on that point of being able to do things which we've never been able to do, and I'm sorry for jumping in.
It's good, though.
Yeah.
I know where you're going.
Yeah, where am I going?
I think you're going with package down.
I am going with package
Yes.
down. We hadn't even planned this, it's so good. We just connect. Like the latest version of the Chrome packaged applications, for instance, allows you to, you've got access to network sockets, UDP, TCP, Bluetooth, USB, all these type of things which you've never had in the browser before. So yeah, that's another one I'm really excited about as well. And I won't interrupt again.
Is that a promise?
Yes.
I believe you. I'm most interested in sort of anything that helps developers build applications more easily, and that sort of factors into Yeoman. I'm also really interested in web components. I see that sort of being the future of how people perhaps create widgets and applications, and perhaps there'll be less of an emphasis on the frameworks they use and more about what the browser can give you right out of the box. So I think it's going to be really exciting to see what happens there. Well,
You're going left, right?
Yeah. Just taking
You guys.
everything.
I know, right? What were you going to go with?
I'm not going to tell you.
Well, I'll tell you, they were going to say web intents.
Yeah, I was going to say Will.
I really like all those answers.
Yeah.
Wow.
Me too.
One of the things about WebRTC, though, is that
Oh.
a small thing, is that it's still behind. You have to go to About Flags.
Yeah.
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 Still in Canary?
It's in stable, but it's behind the
Oh,
flag.
wow.
It's in stable.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's behind flags.
What about in Canary? Is it behind Flags?
Yeah, it's in
Okay.
Canary. Oh God, I'll probably get this
I
wrong.
thought beta
Canary
was
now
not
is-
behind the
I
flag.
thought beta was no.
Canary's
Without-
not behind
It's
the flag.
complicated. Sorry, just
Clearly.
any explanation. There were originally two flags you needed to enable to use WebRTC. One was media stream, one was peer connection.
Yep.
What's happened is that it's basically working that as the versions of Chrome come through, you don't need to enable media stream, but peer connection for the actual peer-to-peer communication stuff
Yeah.
still needs to be enabled. So what's happening? What that means is that get user media is available. We'll be coming with flagless implementation, but for a while, peer connection is behind the flag.
And just to clarify,
Don't ask me to remember which specific versions it's on.
no, that's fine. Just to clarify, get user media is the evolution of the device tag from forever ago.
Yeah, kind of.
And you don't, so it's usually grouped as part of WebRTC,
Yeah.
but like you don't need to be doing real-time communication with anyone else. Like,
No.
you can just be using get user media as a way to get access to a
Phone
camera,
booth apps,
microphone.
all that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But WebRTC, with peer connection, is hugely powerful.
Incredible.
And even though it's available pretty widely now behind a flag, I don't think we've really seen like a great killer app with it.
Not yet.
So like,
Yeah,
please
come
make
on.
it.
Yeah.
The fact that I can connect to a peer, not send all my bandwidth through a server, so you can create essentially, a video chat app that can scale beautifully, because all the connection is peer-to-peer, with things like noise cancellation, duplex sound,
echo cancellation, and so on.
Yeah, all of your
and
stuff,
variable
yeah.
bitrate based on your connection speed.
Yeah.
Like the
Yeah.
amount of technology that's in there, things that you don't have to worry about, is pretty incredible. And so, I don't.
So one thing that we'd love to see is, obviously, because there's the peer connection API and everything, it's the jingle and all that type of stuff, you can build like a server, like a client and the peer-to-peer thing, which is actually not a web browser, it's just a remote server. Render a display buffer to it, send it out. That'd be brilliant.
That's interesting.
You could just kind of do a whole lot of stuff with that.
Yeah.
Cool.
And one of
we
the
think
things
we need to experiment
yeah.
with it, right? People need to do that to test it.
Yeah. I mean, one of the things, just to reiterate about WebRTC, is that this is all about potentially about direct peer-to-peer connection, but there's a whole stack of stuff built into WebRTC to cope with NAT traversal and communication of streaming data from behind firewalls, and to make that really seamless. That's one of the great strengths. The other thing we'll be seeing later in the year, we hope, is, or certainly is planned, is data channel API.
Yeah.
So
Really cool.
at the moment we've seen WebRTC apps that use the video stuff, and what's planned is this API called data channel, which kind of does the same thing but for any kind of arbitrary data. So incredibly powerful.
Like peer-to-peer WebSockets.
So
isn't it?
yeah, peer-to-peer data.
Right.
Oh, come
You
on.
know, I said I wouldn't interrupt.
Ah.
We've actually had a remote gatecrasher. Seth Ladd wants us to say Dart is his most advanced, his most exciting platform feature.
It's
Yeah.
surprising.
So
Yeah,
We'll play
if
some.
you haven't used Dart, give it a go. Try it out.
He'll be
I
happy.
got to give one more plug.
Yeah.
Since it's my turn, I've got to mention the track element, which is really interesting. I think if you haven't had a look at this, it's a really kind of simple way to get synchronized, timed metadata in with media such as video and audio. So like simple use cases, stuff like captions, subtitles, but what makes it, for me, really interesting, I mean, aside from the kind of accessibility stuff, is the ability to use timed metadata of any kind. So you can have metadata that relates to times within media and kind of do anything with
do you want to tell them about your sample that you did?
Shameless plug.
Yeah, go on. It's good.
Have a look on HTML5 Rocks. There's an article about the track elements, but we did one in particular based on some work some guys did here at Google. If you go to samdutton.com/maptrack, you'll see a demo there which, like, a guy rode around on a cycle around the Mountain View Google campus, and you can see that synchronized with a pointer on a map and also like street view of where he's going, and that's all done using the track element.
So you had like the geolocation?
Yeah, well,
There's the timed elements, was it?
Really
And then-
simple. Just had a geo file, like used an XML file to create in JavaScript the track
Nice.
data, and yeah, that's it. You'll need to have Canary for that, but
Pretty cool.
yeah, there's a whole stack of stuff we're going to see from. Come bring it on, good implementations. of
I guess
that.
since we're talking about video and WebRTC, this is an interesting question for Sam, from Adam Bradley. Do you see solutions like PhoneGap still being useful if we're able to capture audio and video now from new HTML5 input fields and features?
Yeah, I mean, in the short term certainly, but I don't see these things as kind of excluding each other. But I can see that the functionality we get with media stream, that's, if you're using get user media, that's the kind of API behind that media stream. There's a lot of potential for that stuff which is built right into the browser, and we'll see wider implementations across platforms.
I think it depends right now. It's like, if you're building something that's like specific for Android and you want specific Android integrations,
Yeah.
then we're not quite there just yet.
Yeah.
But it's like, look at the pace of change that we've had recently, right? Just to get where we're going. It's pretty cool.
The published goal of PhoneGap is to make itself obsolete. So,
That is true.
so they want that. So hopefully that happens.
Right, where are we with the questions?
Yes, we had quite a lot of updates.
Yeah,
I got,
So many questions coming
so the next one is Grey Ghost Visuals asks why Chrome does not support the REM unit inside media queries, and links to a little demo where that doesn't work.
So, I'm naive. I don't know what the REM unit is. Is it relative EMs?
Relative M's.
Is that what it is? Yeah. Okay.
Yep. Jonathan Snook has a really good article about it. It was a more recent one. I'm not sure why.
Why do you need it in a media query? Is that in like the actual filter?
We're
that you
defining
put?
like a width that you want to manipulate, that things are going to change. So I think actually for the media query condition, right?
Okay.
Not for not the payload.
But you normally put, my only question is, right, you normally put media query stuff pretty much at the top of the page,
Yeah.
where you don't even need a relative EM, right? You just need a normal EM unit because that's where it's based from, is it not?
What I would suggest on this is
Sorry.
filing a ticket and linking to your demo. I'm not sure. So this is actually the first time that I've heard that this is an issue. So it may not be on the mind of anyone that could work on it and fix it. So file a ticket and just ping me afterwards, and I'll try and find an engineer who can take a look. Yeah. Okay, we got like 3 more minutes.
Cool.
Yeah.
So can I answer one? I promised I'd answer some Web Intents questions.
Yeah,
Go for
you
it.
did.
Cheers, dudes. So it says, I'm currently implementing a proof of concept with Web Intents, and I'm wondering, is it correct that I have to implement a Chrome extension to support an intent at the moment? It's pretty correct at the moment. We don't have the full tag support in kind of any other browsers anyway. We have a JavaScript shim which kind of emulates it, but that's kind of incompatible with the pure kind of Chrome implementation. So right now you have to either have a Chrome extension or a packaged app where you'll define the actions and the data types that you want to work on and what URLs they will launch inside the manifest itself. So yes, right now our ultimate goal is to have the manifest as an option, but the actual have something on the open web, which will let you kind of register functionality with the browser of your application. So we're a little way off. I mean, if you want to build stuff in it today, Chrome extensions, Chrome apps, they're pretty good. They can be packaged apps or hosted apps as well, so it doesn't have to be kind of packaged, which most people think it is. So.
And is it worth kind of mentioning what Web Intents is for the uninitiated?
Yeah.
There is no one who is uninitiated. I keep talking about it all the time. So.
Really? Hadn't noticed.
Yes. Okay. So Web Intents, they're basically a way for you to kind of connect applications. Essentially, it's an easy way to connect web applications. The idea basically is that you'll have 2 applications which don't need to know about each other to be able to talk. So you might share a link from a web page, and you as the user get to choose your preferred service for link sharing, not the ones that are like deeply integrated into the website. So it's like a discovery mechanism for applications. That's the highest way of saying it. And the pitch I normally do is, if you're familiar with Android Intents, it's Android Intents but for the web. So that's the easiest way. And then another Web Intents question. Someone's giving me a compliment. It says,
That's not a question.
yeah, well, no, it says, where can I get the awesome... Oh, didn't give me a compliment? Oh, Fred from London, where can I get an awesome laptop skin? I thought you said I was awesome. Oh, for what I'm doing. I can probably send you one. We'll meet up or something. You have to He's in London, so it's probably kind of cool. We'll sort something out. I think we've got some gel skins here. If not, our producer will send us some.
We got a few, and then we're also we can actually post the artwork, artwork file, and you can go order a custom one from jealousskins.com. Which we'll just do that.
Yeah. There is actually one question right at the bottom. It's nothing to do with what I've been talking about at all. When will voice input within the Chrome extension pop-up be working again?
Yeah.
There is actually a Chrome extension API which allows you to not even require a pop-up. I believe it's experimental still, so you can play with that as well. If it's not working, you might want to look at that one.
Cool.
So.
All right, one last question.
So Pete from the UK writes, can you give us any specifics of the Yeoman plugin pattern and what the library will provide? How far down the AND task for everything style are you going, or at what point will the developer be expected to manage files and line endings on their own? So Yeoman is going to try as much as possible to stay an opinionated project. We're going to provide tasks for the things that we think people will use. So we've got tasks to help with things like require.js and CoffeeScript and Compass. You don't, of course, have to use those things, but they're there in case you do want to use them. In terms of the plugin pattern that we use, it's actually really, really flexible. You can include in your boilerplate or scaffold or template or whatever you want to call it as many different files as you want. So if you're a framework, for example, you can define, the models, the views, the controllers, all the different bits and pieces that are required to scaffold something out. And it can be completely up to your style. It can be customized as much as you want. And we're going to be providing a really solid set of docs right out the release so that you can go and create your own templates as much as you want.
Cool. And the last part of that, you're asking about should developers manage files and line endings. As far as line endings are concerned, do we have it in the projects we generate?
Yeah.
Editor config. Go to editorconfig.org. It's kind of an emergent standard that the jQuery project, Modernizer, HTML boilerplate, a lot of projects are getting. It just sets up a very few number of rules as far as white space references, like carriage return, line feed, style things, and has plugins for editors so that the editors keep all these files consistent across these environments. And this is something that we think is awesome, and so we have it as part of Yeoman. I guess that's it for this office hours.
Yep.
Awesome time with 3 Pauls in London.
Yeah.
And the rest of us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Who are you guys?
That was an awesome time with
The non-Pauls.
Yeah.
The non-Pauls.
Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.
Yeah, so we're going to try and make
Thanks
this
for the question.
a relatively regular thing as well, probably
Yep.
on Thursdays, probably
Yep.
about the same time.
Yeah.
I'm always going to talk about web intents, so,
So next time you see a message go out on Twitter or G+, click through the link, ask more questions, vote up and down, and we'd love to answer everything we can for you.
Yeah, cool. And enjoy the Olympics.
Yeah.
Enjoy the Olympics. We'll see you guys next time.
See ya.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye.
See ya.